Welcome back. 755 is real and it is live. I'm David O'Brien, Braves writer for The Athletic. I'm with my co-host, former legendary Braves left-hander, Eric O'Flaherty.
What's up, Dave?
Eric, you were fireman of the year. How many years?
0.
You should have been that 1 year, man. The fuck. 0.9 a year? 0.7 ERA?
0.98.
Well,
I was better. For me, I was better than next year in 12 because I gave up like 10 runs in the first month. And when you give up that 10 spot early,
Smoltzy did that 1 year.
Yeah.
Remember when Smoltzy did that?
I'm more proud of that.
And Smoltzy, the difference is Smoltzy let us know every time he'd have a start. Every save after that, he'd go, "Yeah, still trying to whittle that ERA down. I haven't given up a run in 2 months. It's still 3, 4, 5."
It's so frustrating.
He gave up like 5 runs the first couple of outings, one of those outings. So his ERA was around 5 or 6. And he would keep saying, "Well, my ERA's cooked for the year." And then it was like almost perfect the rest of the year. And he ends up, wherever it was, 3 or whatever.
I think I had like an 8 or something at the end of April. And it was like a 0.5 for the rest of the year, and I still had almost a 2 ERA after that. Because as a reliever, you just can't rack up enough innings to get it down.
Smoltzy came in the press box yesterday and talked to Bo and I. He was doing a game yesterday. Yeah, he's funny, man. That dude.
It cracks me up how mad he is about the game today, but he's right sometimes, or a lot of times.
Oh yeah, he's sour.
But just the bitterness he has just makes my day. When somebody won't beat the shift or something like that, and this guy comes up hitting 220, they shift on him, and he grounds right into the shift. You can just hear Smoltz just grinding his teeth.
Yeah, exactly. He was, and he bitches even more off camera.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But he was talking about playing. He couldn't go do something like 3 different assignments in the past 2 years because of COVID, because he tested, because there's a few cities you have to do the test, and he didn't. So he played golf. Like he's been playing like 45 holes of golf a day, and they told him he tested positive for COVID. He's like, he just kept playing 45 holes of golf instead. But he was funny, man. He was telling the story. Played golf the other day with I don't know if I should tell the story or not. It seems harmless, but he's playing golf with Chipper, and Smoltz's buddy. He's got a buddy. He was like a cricket player. He's like a 5'4" cricket player from India, I think. And that guy was with Chipper, in a cart. And at the end of the day, the guy's like, "Chipper Jones, he doesn't talk." And Smoltzy's like, "Yeah, it can be that way." Yeah. I said, man, he should have asked him about bow hunting. He would have been talking forever, dude. Bow hunting or hitting, and we'll talk all day.
He's not big into small talk.
No, with people you don't know.
Nope. Not wasting his time on that.
Anyway, let's cut the small talk here. Well, we went last week real quick. Mike Soroka. You talked to me about this. I don't know if we were on or off camera, but you said because he struck out 8 of the first 9 guys in that high A start, his first rehab start after being away for so long, and gave up 1 hit. That was in the 4th inning. It was a soft hit. No walks. He was about perfect. And we both said, but you said, let's do what he's next week against AAA hitters because it's a different story against guys who've been around a little bit. Yeah. And, you're not going to be up there hacking, but. So he went from 8 starts in 4 innings, or 8 strikeouts in 4 innings for high A Rome, to his second start yesterday, Sunday, for AAA Gwinnett. No strikeouts in 3 1/3 innings. No strikeouts. 6 hits. Gave up 1 or 2 runs. Nothing terrible, but it was quite a different story than the first rehab start. So I'm kind of like, okay, now we can kind of see what we've got in the next couple, make a much better judgment. But I think we're all kind of guilty of getting carried away after that first one. But 6 hits yesterday, 2 runs, 1 walk, no strikeouts was the thing that kind of jumped off at me. And he had, what's the strikes? Pitches to strikes. 58, well, still 58 pitches and 39 strikes. So that was all right. What do you think? What do you make of that? Going from high A to AAA and going from 8 strikeouts to none?
Honestly, every time I had a rehab start in, A ball or something like that,
Yeah.
I felt like I couldn't even get anything out of it because it was like pitching against high school kids compared to the major league level. You know, when you have major league stuff and you can make major league pitches, you're going to get them out. And if you watch the video, you know, I mean, he was striking guys out on fastballs right down the middle because Soroka has an elite sinker. It's an elite sinker that major league trained, you know, the best hitters in the world will still swing and miss at. So you start throwing that in A ball, you know, you don't even really have to locate it. But for me, when I saw him throwing them right down the middle, it's a really good sign that they're swinging 10 inches over it and it's right down the middle. But then you get to AAA and those guys have seen more of this stuff and they're going to be able to put the bat on it. And, you know, it didn't say anything in there from what I read if these were hard hit balls or if they just found holes. But for me, the strikeout difference was probably just the guys being able to handle that movement, that major league movement. You got guys that have been to the major leagues and the best, you know, minor league players that aren't in the major leagues. I don't think it's a big deal. And he probably tried to, it's really easy to get hyped up on yourself too. It's like, oh shit, my sinker's the best it's ever been when you're throwing it to A-ball guys. Then you really find out what you're throwing up there in AAA, and I'm sure he'll adjust.
Yeah. Most importantly, he's healthy. I mean, it's 2 starts that he's gone pretty high pitch count for being his first 2 rehab starts. So I would imagine, well, this next one will be whoever's home. I didn't look at the schedule yet. I would think AAA would still be home. They play those ridiculous 6 games. That's what they do in the minor leagues now everywhere, you know, but it saves so much in travel. 6 games. Yeah. They have a Monday off and then they play a 6-game series. So it's all week in one city. Yeah. Isn't that something? I thought it would have led.
Nice, though.
Yeah, I mean, it's no travel. It saves so much money, but I thought it would have led to so many brawls, and it didn't, apparently. You know, I just thought that would be the real problem you had if something
get sick of each other, yeah.
If something happened early in a series, guys start throwing at each other, that kind of thing, that who knows what's going to happen. But, man, you got to get sick of each other, huh? I mean, if you're a starter, you're 2 starters are facing the same team twice, or 1 starter is. And a bullpen, relievers, you're facing the same hitters for a week.
Yep. Yeah, I think it'd be toughest for relievers because you kind of benefit from that time off from seeing your stuff and looking at other guys.
Yeah.
You could pitch 3 or 4 games in a row against the same team, which you pretty much only do in the big leagues. But I think it's cool. I didn't know they were doing that. But the travel aspect of that, you know, the hardest thing about going to AAA, you know, when you get sent down or trying to get through it and it's flying, because even in AA, you got bus rides.
Right.
But AAA, you have like 4:30 a.m. wake up
commercial flights.
So you're getting up at 4:30 in the morning. You're flying. You get to whatever city you're going to at like 2 p.m. You know, when it's all said and done, you got like an hour to go take a nap at your hotel, and then you got BP. So that week straight of not having to do that twice a week is huge.
Yeah. I mean, people talk about how brutal bus rides must be in the minors, but commercial flying is worse than that because I mean you're getting up so early now to give, 2 hours for your flight. You got to get, wait, and you're in the airport just like it's not like in the big leagues.
Now you're flying in uncomfortable clothes too.
Yeah.
You're not in sweatpants on a bus.
Yeah. Yeah, the Braves, man, they've gone from back in your day, back when in Bobby's day, from wearing coat and tie on most of the trips to they wear it's much more business casual or whatever, and to wear nice jeans or whatever. And now they started doing what like the Dodgers did it last year. Some other teams, I think the Braves wear warm-up suits now on road trips. Yeah. They have 2 different warm-up suits. They all wear the warm-up suit. Look like a college basketball team getting off the bus,
Well, nobody sees
Makes
you.
So much more sense. Yeah.
They see you at the stadium and they see you getting off a bus. And then as soon as you get to the hotel room, everybody rips their suit off as soon as they can and puts on clothes they want to wear. So
it's kind of silly.
It was kind of silly. I could understand if you were going through airports and stuff. But even then, it's like, obviously these guys are athletes.
But
these aren't stockbrokers.
That's a rule from back in the day when people took trains, or then when they flew and went through the airport, they wanted to look sharp. But like you said, I mean, these days you're going straight from the only time people go see you are the fans that line up outside your stadium when you're leaving. 50 people or whatever. But you're going straight to your bus, straight from your bus to your plane. You're not going through the airport. You're taking you right out to your flight out on the tarmac. So
I used to just wear 1 suit a year and everybody'd make fun of me. I'd be like, I hate these clothes. I'm not buying more of them. As soon as it gets to the hotel, just get it dry cleaned again and throw it back on for the next road trip.
Gary Sheffield, when he was with the Marlins, and I'm assuming he did it when he was still here with the Braves too, when I was covering him here, but I knew with the Marlins, he would carry a Louis Vuitton steamer trunk on the team flight. Everybody's got the team issued bag, garment bag, the other bag. Gary had the steamer trunk on the team flight. He never wore the same suit twice, man. He wore a suit, and they were all custom made. They had long suits that were his coattails were down close to his knees. He had long suits, and he would give them away afterwards to his boys, or just give them away to players on the team, whatever. I don't know what he did with them all, but he didn't wear. He wore a steamer trunk on the flight.
Yeah, Mike Gonzalez did that too. When you get called up, there's always a vet that buys you suits. Gonzo sent me to some K&P fashion superhouse or something in Gwinnett and was like, go get 15 suits. It's like, I don't want to carry 15 suits around, man. He did the same thing, though. He'd wear it and then toss it, but they weren't expensive suits. I think they were like 80 to 120 bucks.
Gary's were expensive ones.
I'm sure they were. Yeah.
Okay, so tell me how your experiences, if you've ever had one of your guys, I'm sure you have, one of your guys get booed at home for whatever reason. Because yesterday I saw something that you almost never see in Atlanta. It's kind of like St. Louis. They do not boo their own. I mean, you got to do something really bad. And they booed Marcell Ozuna yesterday. We were all surprised. We get there, and Marcell's in the lineup for the Sunday afternoon series finale against the Astros. Snit didn't talk before games on day games, 1:00 games. So we kind of had to wait until afterwards to get the reasoning. Other than we were told before the game, Eddie Rosario had a strained hamstring and he was available off the bench. So that eliminated one of the options that they could use to start. The only other option was Guillermo Heredia. Snit explains afterwards that right-handers had done a little better against Urquidy, the starter yesterday. So hence Marcell Ozuna in the lineup yesterday, 2 days, about 60 hours or so after he was arrested for DUI in the wee hours Friday morning. He's in the lineup yesterday. And when he was introduced before the game, they call out your name twice. They do they announce the lineup over the loudspeakers. And then when you're coming up in your inning, they announce him again. So each time his name was announced, he was booed. But the crowd was still arriving before the game when they announced that. When he came to bat, though, because he hit at the bottom of the order, when he came to bat the first time, it was pretty loud. And then he struck out, and it was louder as he's walking off. He only batted twice. He was hitting ninth, so he only batted twice, and then they pinch hit with Rosario later. But he struck out both times. He looked really, really lost. I mean, it's hard to play. He hadn't played in a week, but struck out both times. Struck out both times and flailed and got really booed. And you don't see that in Atlanta, man. What's that like? How awkward or uncomfortable is that for a teammate when you're sitting in the dugout or whatever and one of your teammates gets booed like that?
Well, you feel for him. I think everybody's been booed at some point in their career. Maybe I didn't see it too much in Atlanta, though, but I played for the Mets, and I got booed off the field every time I pitched. I was just bad, and it definitely doesn't help, but you're already aware of how bad things are going. I think it puts a little more pressure on you because you are thinking about, shit, if I strike out here again.
Right.
So, it takes you out of your game, I think. But, as far as playing him, I don't know what choice Snicker has.
He doesn't.
You can't play with a man short.
As long as they're giving him he's one of the guys on 26-man roster. You got a guy with a strained hamstring, you're down to one other option for the outfield. Your utility guy doesn't play outfield. Yeah. I mean, he doesn't, as Snit can't just go with a 25-man roster if they're saying he's on the team. For now, he is for legal reasons, from what I can understand. It's just the only reason he's there is, we talked about this a little bit. The Braves have been very careful as an organization to do all the things right that MLB wants you to do and all the things right their lawyers want them to do, since the whole copy thing. But in this case, I'm just speaking, this is just my opinion. I haven't been told this by anybody in the organization, but I think that the Braves lawyers are looking at a way they can get some money back from this, not have to owe him the full $41 million. Because it's been multiple legal things now. Because a DUI on its own, you got no chance of getting any of the money back.
You remember when Derek Lowe got a DUI, right?
Right.
I don't remember anything. It was like, D'Lo got in trouble, and then 2 days later he's starting.
Right. DUI is not going to, I mean, that's in the collective bargaining agreement. Those kind of things, you do nothing. You can't do, there's nothing, there's no clause, no nothing. I mean, last year for domestic violence, they couldn't dump him and eat the contract or get the money back from the contract. They had, so, I mean, that's just the way it is. But I'm just wondering, thinking that with two things in such a short span, and we know he was on 6 months probation in the legal system. Was he on some kind of other probation? I don't know. I'm just saying that if the Braves think there's any way they can get some of that money back, they're probably looking at it as if we release him and then he's acquitted, if we release him before he's even goes through the justice system, then it looks like we took our own, we jumped the gun, didn't wait for this thing to play out, didn't release him for performance reasons, release him only for, that's the only thing I can figure is they're waiting because they have some hope of getting some of that money back. And once this thing plays out, if he's convicted or if he pleads guilty or whatever, then they can try to get, that's all I can figure on why they still have him on the team. And I think MLB too, part of their, part of the agreement, the collective bargaining agreement is you'd always let this stuff, the legal system play out before you do anything. So
yeah,
it's an awkward situation.
So long for the stuff to play out. I mean, if it was like 5 days to play out, but you might not get this resolved till January.
Oh yeah, I mean, or later. Yeah, with a DUI, you can get a continuance. You can get all kinds of things. If a cop doesn't show up, whatever. But I mean, in his case, that won't happen. But yeah, your attorney can always ask for a continuance, and so. But anyway.
Yeah, you could also hope that he gets hot and hits, and in the offseason you could get somebody to pick up a portion of it.
Right.
I mean,
even if it's just a little bit of it. Yeah. Even if it's 10 million of the 41 million that he's owed. Yeah. You can do a lot more things in the offseason than you can do right now while you're desperate and everybody knows.
I would think there'd be a way. I don't know, because if he was hitting 310 with 35 homers, everybody would be more forgiving. In baseball, when you're struggling and fucking up off the field,
that's truth. If he was helping them win, people would put up with it. But he's not doing anything to help them win. So it's like
from the Braves, he's hilarious.
Yeah,
look how funny he is.
And we were already talking about what can the Braves do before this legal thing, just because he was so bad.
Yeah.
So,
and that's kind of the thing is then something like this happens and it forces your hand, or it just kind of like tips the scale to the point where you're like, all right, we were already in this spot with him, but I don't know. I mean,
but like I said, if he were to do something down the stretch, get hot. I mean, we've seen him carry an offense for a while. Yeah. I mean, who's to say he can't still do it? He has no signs of it. But if he did, then you got to think they'd be able to get some team to bite on, 10 million of the 41 that he's still owed over the next 3 years.
Yeah. And you go to a new organization and it's like
2 years after this,
fresh reset. The Astros took that guy Ozuna that beat up his girlfriend, or what's the reliever's name?
Right. I know what you're talking about.
It's not Ozuna. But they took a reliever that did that. Right. And it's like you go to a new organization and it's just a fresh start.
Right.
But when you do it with the organization while you're struggling, it's kind of like.
And when you're with the same organization you did that domestic violence with.
I don't think he's getting forgiven very easily.
No. I just had he has gone, by the way, last 11 games, 5 for 42. He's at 119, no walks, 15 strikeouts, 331 OPS, 1 home run. That's the last 11 games. For the year, it's really weird, man. He's hitting exactly the same as he did last year, batting average-wise, 213. Last year, 213 in 48 games for injury and suspension. This year, 213 in 108 games, 450 plate appearances this year. 645 OPS last year, 653 this year. So that's 2 back-to-back years. It's just been brutal. To put that in perspective, in 2020, when he led the league in home runs and RBIs, he had a 636 slugging percentage. His OPS the last 2 years has been 645 and 653. OPS. So he led the league in total bases as well as home runs and RBIs in 2020. I mean,
yeah, and if you can get him to that, but I don't know. It's a gross situation to try to be managing if you're a team.
Yeah.
I kind of expected him just to be like, that's it, and eat it, but it's not my money.
Yeah, I that's why I think it's the legal stuff, but yeah. So hell of a homestand for the Braves. I know it once again didn't end on a high note, and people kind of with the recency bias, people just think of how bad it felt losing yesterday. But take a step back, that was a hell of a homestand. I mean, you're coming off that great road trip. Well, the great last 2/3 of the road trip. That trip started off with that disastrous series at New York where you lose 4 out of 5, and you're like, oh shit, Then you go sweep the Red Sox in 2, sweep the Marlins in 4. It ends up being a really good road trip on record wise, but that prepares you for this homestand that you're like, okay, now we're going to find out. You got 7 games against the Mets and the Astros, right? Yeah. 2 of the best 4 or 5 teams in the majors, arguably 2 of the best 3 teams in the majors. I put the Dodgers, Braves, Astros, Mets in whatever order you want to put them in as the best 4 teams, right? So they're facing the Mets and the Astros at home. They got DeGrom and Scherzer in the Mets series, and the Braves win 5 out of 7 games, man. Yeah. That's a great homestand.
Yeah.
Take 2 out of 3 from the Astros. You were going for a sweep of the Astros yesterday.
Yeah.
And, your bullpen had another hiccup yesterday. You get down by 3. Dylan Lee showing some wear and tear to me, and Jackson Stevens as well, but especially Dylan Lee. He's never pitched this long, man, in a major league season at all.
Yeah.
But so you get down by 3, and once again, though, they didn't give up, and they got within a run at the end. I mean, they still made another run at the end, and they lose by a run.
Yeah, yesterday was one of the only times I was kind of wondering. I guess Matzik and Iglesias, they pitched a lot lately, but
Matzik came in.
Well, Matzik did. I meant Minter.
Right.
Down 1 right there. Would have been nice to keep it close, but.
Well, Dylan Lee was so good for so long.
Exactly.
And Snit, I was kind of surprised to hear this from Snit, but even Snit said afterwards, I have to read you this quote because it was surprising to me. On Dylan Lee's recent struggles, he asked him about it. And he said, you got to remember, too, that like Strider, this is Dylan Lee's first year as a major league reliever to go the extended thing. So I'm sure there's wear and tear a little bit. He's probably not feeling that the greatest. I don't know. I'm just saying this is a first-year major league reliever. He burst on the scene last year at the end, and now he's being asked to put down some high-pressure innings, and he has. Yeah. He's done a great job. It's location. He had a 4-pitch walk, but the breaking ball is real and his stuff is real. I think he's just learning as he goes also. He's no different than Spencer Strider and Kyle Wright and all them guys. They're all first-year guys going to tee to green for the first time. But the quote made me think, okay, if he's showing wear and tear and doesn't feel the greatest, then he probably needs to take a little break then if that's you're not being used in that situation. It didn't.
Well, I think yesterday cemented the thought in his mind.
Right. So next time maybe doesn't do that.
You can be feeling great and fresh and still have a couple bad outings in a row. But the longer it goes, the more you're like, all right, this guy's tired because he hasn't been missing these spots and throwing these pitches all year. And, mid-August, minor league season's about over. Mid-August is normally when guys that haven't done the major league thing where you're warming up more often all year. Yeah. You're doing stuff like back-to-backs all year, multiple inning appearances. And in the minor leagues, it's like you pitch today, you're guaranteed to be off tomorrow. You pitch this day, you got 2 days off. You never go 3 out of 5 and do these things that are just normal in the major leagues. So you get away with it for the first 3-4 months, and then you start getting tired, and you don't necessarily feel like my arm feels like shit, or it's your location and the crispness on your pitches that kind of just starts to slowly struggle, and you're giving up hits and missing spots, and you can't really figure out why. But I remember that my first major league season, I think I had like a 2.2 ERA going into August. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden I gave up a 5 spot. I'm like, all right, I'm going to wash it. 2-3 outings later, 3 spot, another 3 spot. And all of a sudden I finished the year with a 4.5 ERA. And I didn't know what happened because I still felt it. I still felt good. I still felt like, why? It's kind of like you start asking yourself, why are they not swinging at that pitch? Or, I got away with that pitch yesterday, and it's just you kind of lose a little bit of life on your pitches. But you don't feel shitty enough to pitch carefully. You want to keep that same aggression you've had all year that's worked all year. You kind of keep going back to it and then keep getting burned. And it's just an adjustment you have to make where, toward the middle and end of my career, I knew when I started getting hit, I had to be that much more careful and that much more focused. And I almost had to back off and really try to make the pitch and know where I couldn't miss because my stuff wasn't quite there.
Yeah. It's it can't be emphasized enough how much different it is pitching in a major league bullpen for a full season than it is a minor league bullpen for a season that's a lot shorter. Yeah, it's the toughest job in baseball, man.
And you learn how to manage it. You don't know these things of when your arm does feel a little slow or tired one day, you don't know you shouldn't go out and long toss. You don't know that it's okay to just play light catch and that you just pitched yesterday, your arm's going to be fine. So you keep trying to feel good every day and you just dig yourself into a deeper hole. But you learn to manage that stuff over time.
And that's why we see every year, man, without fail, we see one or two guys that come out of nowhere and have like this great month or great 2 months. And then all of a sudden they peter out and you're like going, what happened? That's what you're talking about, man. But they're coming up and nobody's seen them. They're fresh. Nobody has any kind of scouting report on them. They're out there going full in. They're not pacing themselves or anything like that. But then they almost all the time, none of those guys go a full year doing that. Nope. And it also makes you appreciate the guys like a Colin McHugh who doesn't throw 98, but he's in there going 2 innings in high leverage situations sometimes. I mean, time and time again, this kind of the grunt work that's not glorified, but those guys are invaluable, man. And that's why they're paid a lot more money now than they used to be too. Because there's just so few guys like that you can count on for the full year that know what they're doing.
It's, it's just why you don't see dominant relievers have 10, 15-year careers.
Right.
You see most of the time you'll see it. And look at Kimbrel right now.
Yeah.
He's having to freaking battle because the wear and tear of being in the pen. There's never a time in your life where you throw off the mound 4 days in a row. Now, nobody tells you to do that. Everybody's like, why would you throw off season? You're not going to throw 4 bullpens in a row. You take 2 days off. So you're always throwing fresh and you're always practicing fresh. Coming up through the minor leagues, they're always protecting you. Very few minor leaguers go back to back. You start getting to the higher levels and they think you're going to be a legit setup man or late inning guy. They'll start pushing you into that. But even in the minors, you're not going back to back, day off, and then throw multiple. So it's just something that not a lot of young relievers are prepared for. And you can't learn how to manage it or learn your body in the minor leagues. You have to learn it in the major leagues when, winning is a priority, not development. And you're going to be put in a position where you're going to have to pitch really tired on days that they protect you from in the minor leagues. And I don't know if it'd be smart to put guys through that in the minor leagues because it is so hard on your arm.
Right.
It's like you got this big prospect reliever and you're throwing them 5 days a week. It's like you're just burning bullets.
The old theory, you only got so many bullets. Why would you burn them like that?
Yep.
On a bright note, Kirby Yates had a really good outing, man. I mean, because he's struggled a little bit a couple of times so far coming out. Understandable. Hadn't pitched in about 2 years, close to it. He had a really good outing 2 days ago against the Astros. Perfect inning, struck out 1, clean inning. And showed some signs of, maybe being a factor down the stretch, maybe being a guy that could rely on and work up into higher leverage situations. That was a big inning too. That was with a game in a tight game. So Snit showed some confidence in using him there. The guy that I was, and we talked about this too, off camera here. If the Braves were able to get somebody to solidify that number 4 spot, whether it be Ian Anderson or Soroka. I know that I'm not going to get ahead of myself. Soroka, he's got to prove it first. But if someone were able to down the stretch going into the postseason, if they had a 4th starter, because you're not going to need 5 starters in the postseason. You will need 4 because they eliminated that travel day on the second series, in the World Series and the LCS. You are going to need 4, but you're not going to need 5. And the Braves have 3, obviously. The first 3 are set with Fried, Kyle Wright, Charlie.
Charlie's looking good.
Charlie's looking really good, man. 11 strikeouts the other day. I mean, the curveball's just looks like a wiffle ball again, man.
Yeah.
You got 3. Strider has been one of the best pitchers, obviously, all season in whatever role. And people look at this wrong when I even suggest it, because I'm not suggesting he's done anything to warrant not being in the rotation, because he certainly has. He's one of your best 3 pitchers, really.
Yeah.
I mean, your best 3 starters, if we're being honest, on a nightly basis. Certainly one of your best 4. But if one of those other guys were to step up and show you that he could be a good 4th starter in the postseason, imagine what they could do with Strider, used, deployed as this animal, this multi-inning reliever, like Hader did for a while. And you brought up the guy who started the whole trend, Andrew Miller. Remember when he was just devastating in that role?
Yeah.
And I'm not talking long-term. I'm talking about this year only.
Yeah.
But Strider, who's already at career high innings now, is over 100. He's got the highest strikeout rate of any Braves pitcher in history.
Yep.
For any starter in history. And he's going to set the record for any rookie in history. He's going to pass Kerry Wood. He's got 13.6 per 9 innings, man. It's ridiculous. The guy's throwing 99 to 100, sitting 99 as a starter, right? If you deployed him for an inning or 2 innings, or even 3 innings if you had to in one game, now that, and I'm saying it's necessary maybe because you're starting to see some cracks from some guys in that bullpen we just talked about.
Yeah.
Even though you brought a really good closer over from the Angels, you know, you got 3 guys, Iglesias, Jansen, Mentor, that you can really count on night in, night out. And Mentor went through his little blip there, but he's back throwing strong. Matzek's still trying to get back where he was. He's not there. Colin McHugh is a great pitcher for the role we talked about. But imagine if you were able to deploy Strider for like 2 innings at a time, the guy'd be throwing 101, 102 out there probably, you know?
Yeah.
I'm just saying, if one of those other guys would come up and solidify number 4, it would eliminate a lot of bullpen concerns if there are any going to the road, because bullpen is going to, and we've seen it, how important it is in a postseason.
It's everything.
They don't win last year without that bullpen. They do not win the LCS and a World Series without that bullpen. And if you had Spencer Strider eliminating 2 innings at a 2 innings at a chunk, I mean, that's a big deal, man. I'm just saying that's something to consider.
I agree.
If one of those other guys steps up and solidifies number 4, obviously you can't probably do it unless somebody does, unless you're going to go bullpen game, you know, and which they did last year, but out of necessity. They didn't want to. It worked out okay, but they didn't do great in those bullpen games, you know, and it's not really something you want to do with a bullpen. It's not as deep as it was last year either.
Right. Yeah. And less days off.
Right.
But, you know, Soroka would be huge.
Huge.
Because I know he can handle the moment.
Ian would be huge, and he's done it before.
Would be huge. If they can get – there's a lot of time left to let it play out. You know,
and the AAA season goes through September this year, a lot deeper.
Yeah. If you know, Matzek, he's not there. He's not where he was last year. But that's kind of – how huge was he? He was throwing 1 or just sometimes multiple, but –
they don't win it without him last year.
They don't win it. No. I mean, the situations he was getting out of.
Right. Him, Mentor.
But you see,
and Will Smith, they don't win it without those guys last year.
Yeah. And you can't win in the postseason with a shitty bullpen.
Nope.
I don't care.
Nope. Because starters are only going 4, 5, 6 innings tops unless you're, you know, 1 or 2 guys.
I mean, if you got Scherzer and DeGrom, maybe, you know, they go 8 and you hand the ball to Diaz. But
right.
Yeah, I mean, if just watching what Andrew Miller did for the Indians and Yankees, I mean, he changes the game.
And Strider could do that.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be the 9th. It doesn't have to be the 8th. If you can bring him in, you know, it's crazy because there's always these situations. That's why you have to have a deep pen. But there's these situations that come up in the 5th, 6th, 7th inning that are going to decide the game.
Yeah.
If you don't get out of them, you're losing. You know, it turns into a 3 spot. You lose by 1. But if you can bring in Strider against the heart of an order with runners on 1st and 2nd in the 6th, and feel like we got a shot to get out of this, versus a guy that good stuff, you know, good pitcher, but now you're facing Alonso or, you know, some other slugger that's going to give you a really tough at bat. You know, to be able to bring him in the 6th inning and eat from the 6th to the 7th and then hand it to 2 single inning guys.
Yeah. And Iglesias, Mentor, Jansen.
You're basically shortening the game by an extra 2 innings. And if you have a solid closer and setup man, you're shortening it by 4. So now the team feels the pressure. They have to score off your starter.
Right.
Because they know that pen's down there. And they don't want to face those guys. A lot of teams now are like, we want to keep the starter in the game. They get criticized for swinging early in the count.
Third time through, yeah.
They're like, we don't want to, but we want to keep this starter in the game. We want his pitch count low because we don't want to face Strider in the 6th and 7th. So then that in turn makes them more aggressive and try to hit your starter, and it makes your starters better.
Yeah, if you look at Charlie, even at his peak with the peak years, postseason years with the Astros and the Rays, he's going like 5 innings in the postseason. It's a different animal in the postseason, man.
Yeah.
And like Ian Anderson, he's got this incredible postseason record. That's going about 5 innings every time, a couple times 4 something. So if you go have your starter go 5 innings, and if you could have Strider come in and the heart of the order's coming up in 6, and you got a 1-0 lead, and he just blows away everybody for 2 innings, then all of a sudden, hey, your offense might score another run or two in the interim, and then you're handing the ball over to that. So I just think it's something they got to consider. I know Strider, if it's had his druthers, would want to start because he's a starter. He loves starting, but he is so good in both roles. And if this particular team, the personnel warranted moving him there, and also it'd be the way to monitor the innings, but I don't think that's the bigger concern as it is just you could use him. And I'm not even talking about doing it because of the innings. I'm talking about because that might be the best way he's utilized on this team if they have another guy step up for that 4th start.
Yeah, I think that's the key though, is somebody has to be pitching pretty damn well to be willing to take him out of the role he's in, because I mean, he can. It's the same thing though. If he goes 5 shutty, who's going to get you to the 8th?
Right. And the other thing is Soroka and Ian Anderson are not relievers, and they're not going to use those guys as relievers or expect them to do well if they did.
I'd never consider Soroka.
Ian walks too many guys, and Soroka's with his health history. There's no way you're going to have him come in.
There's no chance I'm having him warm up in a random setting.
Right.
Yeah, he's everything for me. If I have that guy and the value he could possibly have, it has to be very structured coming off of 2 Achilles surgeries. Yeah.
More so than ever. He's got to have his whole between starts routine. And
you'd be crazy to try to do that with him.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's really your one guy that you can do that with is Strider.
Yeah.
And that's because he's so damn good. I mean, he's just filthy.
Yeah.
So, anyway, it'll be interesting. Just last thing. I don't know if you saw, I wrote a story today about how well, and we've talked about this, how, the Braves made that decision years ago when Acuna was coming up. The veterans got together, Marquez, Freddie, those guys, and they're like, let's make these guys feel comfortable from day one. We don't want them coming up here and worrying about stupid shit in the clubhouse. Can I stand in food line first? Can I sit on this couch? Just come up here just come up here and play. All right. Yeah. Just play the game right. Be a team guy, and it doesn't matter. Be yourself. We don't care what you do. Bat flip, whatever you just play hard and play right. Well, these guys right now, the Braves, other teams are doing that too now. I mean, that's the way with MLB skewing so young. Yeah. You'd be stupid not to. You'd be stupid to still be hazing guys, because every team's got guys on their team now in their low 20s. Well, the Braves are doing it better than anybody, though. If you judge based on performance and just how happy these guys seem to be and how much fun they're having on the field. But right now they got 1-2 in Rookie of the Year with Michael Harris and Strider. They're going to be 1-2 in Rookie of the Year unless something changes. And they got a guy that if Grissom had more time in the big leagues, he might be third in Rookie of the Year. I mean, he's playing so well. He just doesn't have enough time. He's not going to be a factor in it, I don't think. But the guy's been phenomenal since he got up. So they got 3 guys right now. They had 2 of the 3 youngest guys in the big leagues, 21-year-old Harris, 21-year-old Grissom. And they got Strider, who's just dominant when he's out there. Those are all rookies in their first season in the big leagues. And they're having so much fun. And all the veterans say, Grissom, since the day he got here, has kept the clubhouse in stitches, and he just energizes everybody. And that's just a clubhouse mentality of having a bunch of veterans like your Darnos and your Olsons and your Dansby Swanson has talked about this from the day when they brought Josh Donaldson in. Not that he's a young guy, but that he was a guy that had rubbed some people the wrong way in other places, a flamboyant guy. Dansby, from the day they signed him, no, man, we welcome that. We need to have different guys in here. Not everybody the same, not everybody cookie cutter, not one guy leading the whole thing. Be yourself. And they're paying dividends this year and seeing that from these 3 guys more than ever, because they're all just crucial in what the Braves are doing right now.
I think a good example is Yunel Escobar. He did so much shit that rubbed people the wrong way, but he's also a hell of a talent and hell of a player. And it's almost like he
could have benefited from this.
Oh yeah. For me, it's like, those guys like that, especially Esky, because he's playing shortstop. I kissed his ass every day and he'd make plays for me. It's kind of like you want guys to like you and want to be where they are and play hard. And it's almost like that's what puffs their chest out. A guy like Escobar doing his big jump in the on deck circle. ESPN game, he's always making plays because the bright lights are on him. But he'd get in trouble for something that he didn't understand, or he's whistling too much during the game.
Yeah.
And I think
he did that all the time. Yeah.
And it's annoying. It's like,
yeah.
God dang, man. It's a second inning day game. It's everybody's still trying to wake up. This guy's whistling like crazy. Just stuff like that. You just let it go. You're just like, I want you to be you and do whatever gives you the most confidence. And, I get tired of the term swagger, but there's something to it, like playing in a flow type of state versus like a self-critical state. You go into this little ball versus just puffing your chest out and being loose with your movements. And the more tense you are, the shittier you play. And the more stuff guys have to worry about not messing up. I say it all the time with coaching too. You watch a high school coach just yelling at his kids. They're all playing with a tight ass and they're messing up more and more and more. You pump people up and take that edge off for them, and they just perform so much better. And that's kind of, the distraction that it becomes when you're getting yelled at for being on the wrong couch. Or I had this time in Anaheim, I had to wear that stupid pink backpack.
Yeah.
I had to take it everywhere with me. If I went to the mall and I didn't have my bitch ass pink backpack on and one of the vets saw me, I was destroyed. I was just going to wear it more that day. So I'd gotten in a taxi and sat in LA traffic for about 30 minutes. And we're staying 40 minutes from the stadium in Anaheim. I realized I didn't have my backpack. I hopped out on the freeway, walked to a hotel that I could see, got a taxi back to the other hotel.
Jesus, man.
Grabbed my bitch ass pink backpack, jumped in another taxi, got to the field, and then got bitched out for being late. But I had to make a decision for what kind of misery I wanted that day.
Right.
And it's like that
what
turned
is
into
the point,
hour and a half debacle of high stress for me trying to make these decisions that don't matter. And I've got a pitch tonight for these guys. I might be coming in for one of the guys that was yelling at me, that was giving me shit. I might be coming in trying to leave his runners on base. And now I'm thinking, oh man, he's going to destroy me if I give up his runs too on the same day I was late. And so that's the shit that's in your head instead of what's Casey Kochman hit? How do I get him out? And I remember these things just because you're just walking around the clubhouse on eggshells trying to mess up. Or if you're Grissom, who's making everybody laugh, he's probably doing all kinds of shit wrong and they're just embracing it and laughing at him. And there's a way to rib guys and get them in line with how you do things that doesn't make them feel like an outcast or uncomfortable. And the whole point is just the more comfortable you are, the more you feel like you belong, the more you're going to play like you belong. And I think they've done a great job embracing that, and Snit especially. I think I couldn't imagine being wearing a sweatsuit on the plane however many years ago, but you just start realizing, like, does this shit really matter?
Yeah.
And then you just get down to what does matter.
And it's a credit to Snit more than anybody, because this is a guy that spent decades and decades in the minor leagues and player development. His job was to make sure guys did everything the right way. Yeah. And it didn't fuck up, and that dressed right and wore their uniform right and all that. But he has changed so much as a manager because the game's changed and his roles changed. These are men, not little kids, and you got to make them feel like men. So credit to him for being so adaptable in his 60s. Yeah. Like a lot of guys would say, I'm too old to change like that. The next guy can change. I'm not doing it. But he hasn't done that. So, and he's reaped the rewards of it by a team that wants to run through a wall for him. I asked Dansby about the whole thing with it. He goes, Dansby said, the hazing part, I've never understood. Like even when I was 14, I never understood that. I thought that was so silly and stupid. So thankfully, that's never been a thing here. But I mean, in terms of just, it's really just that kind of finding that delicate balance of helping young kids grow to be like, what does it mean to actually be a pro? Because we all go through that learning experience when we're young, and it's just fun. And you have to have a lot of success, and it's fun. It's fun. And then all of a sudden, like, there comes a day, because that's how this game works, to where no longer does just fun matter, where there's other things that happen, or expectations or failure or whatever there's that's dealt with. So it's all about like being prepared to handle everything as professionally as possible.
Yeah.
But he was talking about Harris, and he said, yeah, Grissom. He said, yeah, he cracks me up and it keeps me young. He keeps me young and also makes me grow some gray hairs. But yeah, I told him pretty early on, just that I was here for every bit, whatever you needed, whatever you wanted to learn about, talk about, like baseball, life, whatever. I thought Spencer Strider, man. People read this quote that I put connected with my story. I put the quote on Twitter, and some people read it, and I think they probably thought I cleaned it up or whatever, word for word. Wow. And that's how mature Spencer Strider is, because this guy, I mean, this quote right here he is talking about what I'm saying about how this organization, kind of lets guys be themselves. He said, it sounds like the big leagues used to be like when you're young, you keep your mouth shut, keep your head down. There's definitely something to that in a certain amount, but I think that you need guys to feel like they can be who they are. Yep. People say stupid stuff like I have. They make mistakes. But part of that is I think failure is the best teacher, whether it's on the field or off the field. So guys can't fail in ways that they'll learn from unless they're able to just be open and be who they are. I think this organization, from my experience, is pretty good about letting guys let their personalities come through and just embracing everyone for who they are, especially on the pitching side. We have a pretty diverse personality, a group of guys going on. If everybody was trying to conform to something that they thought they needed to be, then that wouldn't work in a lot of ways. And I just thought, this dude's like 23, 24 years old, man.
Yeah. And I think it's something that it's understood by all these guys, but you can't say shit when you're getting called up. And it's just the game's changed in a sense, especially because it's gone so young. Like when I got called up, everybody was in their 30s. It was like 2 guys, 3 guys in the whole team in their early, in any younger than 28.
And now it's upside down. It's the opposite of that.
Upside down. And it was a culture shock for me to go to Oakland, because Oakland's been this way for a long time. But you'd have young guys, putting their own music on, and that's just not the way I was trained. But then you watch Oakland, and they have a guy like Josh Reddick who's got super flamboyant personality. I mean, he's wearing like wrestling outfit during BP. You're just like, what is this clown doing?
Yeah.
But then you watch him struggle in Boston in that atmosphere, go to Oakland and have a nice career for himself, turn into a player. But you watch this stuff happen, and you kind of just start keying in on it and thinking, why is this guy doing well in this atmosphere? Why does this organization have all these young guys that can produce and another one can't? And for me, just the comfort that you see young guys have now is why you see so many more young guys come up and perform.
Yeah.
Your shortstop
from day one.
Like a 32-year-old shortstop that's about to be a free agent in the mid-90s, early 2000s, and a guy as big of a stud as Grissom comes up, they're threatened by him. And they're going to ride him and make him uncomfortable because they don't want to see him succeed. And I think teams have just done a great job of getting over that and just saying, we need this dude to win. We need him at his best. So let's make him comfortable, pump him up. And there's also, there's the stuff, there's antics and stuff that kind of irks guys, but you can look past it. And then there's shit like hurting the team.
Right.
And that's where you draw the line.
And that's what Dansby was saying. He said, it's not just let everything go.
No.
You got to be a team guy. And these guys are all, the 3 I'm talking about, are all, they got personalities where they don't rub people the wrong way. They engage in the clubhouse. Harris is a quiet guy, but you talk to him, he's funny, man. And he loves, his teammates all like him because, he's not over there being an ass. He's over there, he's over there reading. He's over there. But then like Grissom joins the team, and it brings out that side of Harris too. He's comfortable with him. Yep. But everybody that's met him, got to know him, say he's just a great kid. He's a great kid. Smart, funny. He's just quiet. But Grissom is the total opposite of that. And the 2 of them together are side by side lockers too. And Strider's lockers next to them. And Contreras' lockers next to them. And Strider said it's called rookie row, even though Contreras is not a rookie. But they are bringing it all out of each other too. And it's great that they got Darno and Olsen are right over beside him. Those guys are letting them be them. They're not like rolling their eyes or going, hey, you kids, shut the hell up, man. They're not doing that. So these guys they're doing it in a way, but they're not rubbing anybody the wrong way because they're funny. They're not assholes. They're funny. Grissom's a funny guy. He's this good-looking kid. He's smiling all the time. And, what's not to like about the guy? He's not coming in being overbearing. He's not – and most importantly, they're playing their asses off for the team.
Yep.
They're not doing anything to hurt the
team.
They're
helping.
They're helping. The team is winning in large part because of what they're doing.
Yeah. And it's hard enough as a young guy to come up and handle the pressure of the big leagues itself without pressure from your teammates.
Yeah. Yeah. Grissom, by the way, has hit 12 games. This kid's hitting 395 with 3 doubles, 3 homers, 9 RBIs, and an 1121 OPS. He's got 447 OBP in his first 12 games in the big leagues at age 21 after no experience in AAA and only like 22 games above A ball. That's ridiculous, man.
Yeah.
In the same year that Harris has done what he's done. And Harris, by the way, has the highest OPS in the majors in late and close situations for anybody with over 25 at bats. The highest in the majors.
I was a little worried that Houston series, I don't think he got a fastball.
Yeah. Yeah. They exploited his the one hole.
Slider down and in. They just spammed that thing. Just threw it over and over. I mean, I'm sure he'll adjust, but those are kind of the things that, that'll be the next test for him.
Right. Because he had to make an adjustment right off the bat. You noticed something right off the bat, and he made that adjustment. So we'll see.
I've been watching. It's funny because before that series, I was watching him. I was like, "Ooh, I don't know if I would ever throw this guy a fastball." After he hit that 99 from the lefty, I'm making him hit something else, and it's like the Astros were watching because they just flipped him garbage the whole series.
And they're like number one, or they have been at least, with all the analytics, metrics, everything. They were way ahead of the curve. So you got to think they're probably still right there, at the top.
Yeah.
They don't miss a thing, man. So it'll be interesting. When you get to playoffs, most every team you face is going to have really sophisticated, top of the line analytics and all that. So
yeah, and it's like another team sees, you're always watching the series before in your pitchers meetings.
Yeah.
So, you watch the Astros do it and you're playing the Braves next. That's on film and your pitching coach zeroes in on it. And sometimes teams just don't think of that.
Yeah.
They're trying to analyze the bats they've seen, and maybe you put one good swing on a slider and they're like, okay, you can't go there. The Astros have some kind of number and they're like, no, that's our best spot. Just hammer it. And until you hit it, so it's kind of like that's what happened with Jay Hay. Once the Phillies just started pounding him up and in, it's like then every team jumped on the bandwagon. So that's where the adjustment comes in is once a team does it, everybody's going to do it until you hit it.
Yeah. Yeah, because he doesn't take walks. So he's up there hacking. So, that'll be interesting to watch, man, especially when you go to St. Louis.
Yep.
Got Pittsburgh and St. Louis this week. Big road trip for the Braves. They got a chance to make some hay in Pittsburgh, and then you go to St. Louis. That's going to be tough. It always is tough at Busch. And it's nut-cutting time, man. We're coming down to it. 4 games behind the Mets, well ahead in the wild card race. So we'll see.
Trying to think what would be more frustrating, trying to catch a team that won't lose or keep winning and the team won't get off your tail.
Yeah. The Braves still have the best record in the majors since June 1.
Yep.
But the Mets aren't far behind.
No.
As far as June 1, and they were good before that. All right. We'll do this again in a few days. Thanks, everybody. We appreciate it. 755 is real, and we are out.